Good day, cybersecurity experts. My name is Jacques Van Zyl, and I'm in the cybersecurity defense for ATP in a Canadian sub. Today, we're going to cover episode number 5, which is no other than advanced hunting. Okay, it's quite a bit of a topic. We're going to try to keep it level 100. We are going to bring in a specialist, let's say a special guest, and we're going to cover a little bit of Sentinel as well. So keep tuned. This video will be slightly longer than 5 minutes, but I promise you it's going to be very insightful. Okay, so let's first just cover what ATP Advanced Hunting on the edge of the network is not. Okay, or let me suggest to say I won't really use it for that. A lot of partners and customers are asking me, can you use it to, for instance, trace files when you copy, paste, delete, move files around? I won't really say you will use the advanced hunting for ATP for that type of queries. I would rather use other platforms like SharePoint, OneDrive, or for instance, Teams to manage that. There's a vast back-end protocols and file system to do those type of queries or see those type of policies than to use advanced hunting for this. However, there is a way you can do it. We will cover it slightly in a later stage in the process of our, let's call our technical season 2. But for now, we're going to cover a little bit of other things. So what is advanced hunting then? Okay. Advanced hunting here, you can do what we call deep hunting, exploit, guard, PowerShell, USB hunting, for instance. You can do the login of devices, URLs, anything you can download, check for file processors. If you have a certain hash or you have an MD5 file system that's kind of changed a little bit, you can query that as long if it's in the timeline of your Windows. And if you go a little bit back into my series, you'll see I cover that. If it's in the timeline, I can query that timeline, okay, or that functionality in that timeline. Before I start off, if you want to go a little bit deeper, there's a site that you can go into, which is on GitHub. And as you go to GitHub, you can actually go in and see there's a major repertoire of information that you can find, which is campaigns, command and control, delivery, discovery, executions. The list is quite long here. And I keep on updating this information over here. So you can take any of these functionalities that uses what we call KQL or custom language. You can take any of this information, plug it in, and run it to an organization. So it's pretty fairly easy to do so. You can modify it to your heart's content to what you want to do. Okay, so by saying that, if you say to the end, I will show you a way we can actually go and study a little bit about it. And there's a little bit of a 4-hour course just to get you into it if you don't know the basics. And obviously there's YouTube channels that you can go to. But let's go a little bit into a query functionality. Okay, so as I open up, where will you go? You go to securitycenter.windows.com. You'll basically go down to what we call advanced hunting. You'll click on it. You'll basically find this screen over here. Keep in mind, this screen will be slightly different on yours because I already have a few queries that I've been running. And you can see we are working on some pretty interesting stuff over here. Okay, the query I'm going to do is to see what PCs in my organization has downloaded a JS file, for instance, okay? And instantly you can see in the query, we can say where the timestamp is 7 days. We want to see the path, even what's in the recycle bin. We want to see each browser, what browser is downloaded. We want to see what is, in this particular query, you want to see something by Firefox, the JS, the file folder. We want to see timestamp devices. You can see in the query, and you can see in the bottom over here, after I'm going to run the query, this is basically what it's come out to. So it tells us folder path, device ID, it tells us the file that's been downloaded. So it gives us a timestamp. And as I said, what is in the timeline, you can query. So I want to instantly see we've downloaded this particular file over here. So I want to go slightly deeper into it. If you click on this little window over here of the little star, it will take us instantly to this window over here. This will give us, as I mentioned previously, the timeline, and it will tell us where in that timeline it was, okay? We also see it has actually been downloaded. So if I go over this little blob over here, click on it, it will give us a lot of information of this particular file. So it tells us, obviously, again, timeline created, the entities, It tells us all the way down on the right-hand side where the file is, and then you can see it's an unsigned file. So we want to go a little bit deeper into this. What we can also see is if I click on the file, it's going to bring us to a new page, which tells us we can open this file, we can add an indicator. Now, adding an indicator means you want to stop this file again from coming in, or you want to basically alert when this file comes in again, okay? So maybe you want to do some recon in your organization. You can also collect the file, which takes it from the source of the machine to here, and you can go deeper into it, or you can, what we say, consult an expert. We'll cover that on a later stage. So let's click on File, Open File page. In Open File page, it will take us to a section where we can see, does it match the organization? How many machines worldwide has already seen this file? Was there malware detected? But I can also click over here and do a deep analysis. So I can actually send it and get a pretty deep analysis of what this file is. Okay. So in a nutshell, this is what advanced hunting is. Now, I love this purely because I can go and do some research. I can do some queries. I can log in and obviously check what is going on. And, you know, if I want to go into the top here, and I want to say stop and quarantine the file, I can do that. So it gives me a whole lot of freedom on the organization. Okay. Now, this is on the edge of the network. So what happens if we want to do something company-wide? Okay, guys. So as I promised, we're going to bring in, via award-winning teams, we're going to bring our legendary local Rudy Groenewald to go through about Sentinel. So as I explained what we do from a edge perspective, let's see how we can do it from a company-wide and use Sentinel to do a little bit more deep dive into how we do queries and also how we can utilize a little bit of the firewall settings. So with no further ado, via Teams, thank you so much, Rudy. Please introduce yourself and give us a little bit of an overrun.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rudy Groenewald. I am a cloud solution architect with Microsoft in the Canadian sub. I focus on infrastructure and security, and today I'm going to show you a little bit about Sentinel. So let me show my screen here. So this is the Sentinel overview screen. In order to create a Sentinel instance, you create it as you would first go and create what we call a Loganalytics workspace. That's where you're going to keep all of your logs. And then when you're going to add Sentinel on top of that workspace. In a typical SIM fashion, you're going to take the 1, 2, 3 approach. The first step is to get data into your SIM or into Sentinel. Now, this is across the enterprise. So as Jacques just showed you in just a couple of seconds before, he had queries that he did through Defender ATP. Now, Defender ATP is one of those data sources that we have inside of Sentinel. So if we were to slowly scroll down here, you would see here that we have Defender ATP as one of those sources. Connecting this source into Sentinel will allow you to get the alerts that Defender ATP creates and send them into your Sentinel instance so that you can go and do some correlation further. But you can go and enrich those logs also through other sources. So if you have Cloud App Security, if you want to get your Azure AD logs inside of Sentinel, you can do that. You can also get Microsoft Cloud App Security or Azure ATP, or you can get your own firewall products or security products like a Barracuda firewall or a Cisco ASA or a Palo Alto or an F5 or something like that. So we can gather all of these logs and then correlate those logs in order to give us a bigger picture of what's happening, not just from a Defender ATP perspective. So once you've got all of your sources that you want inside of Sentinel, you probably want to go and create some rules, or you want to go and do some hunting. But I'm going to focus just on showing you the rule sets. Rules are under analytics here because it's analytics that we create, that we generate. And if I just look at the first active rule that we have here, this is to to try and see gather information around PowerShell Empire. From here, you'll see these are the tactics that we're looking for. Here is that log or that rule query. This is also Custo, like Jacques just showed you. Then over here at the bottom, we have what's the amount of data that we are looking through from a query perspective. how often are we actually running this, and then some other conditions around my rule. So over here, you'll see that there's an alert here, or a rule at least, that is based on events that happens inside of another security product. So this is the Defender ATP rule. So once we've gone and connected Defender ATP into Sentinel, we have to go and create a rule that's going to create us an incident when one of those alerts are sent over from Defender ATP. And enabling this rule will give us those incidents. There's a bunch of other incidents or rules in here at least also, and we'll kind of dig into that deeper as we get to our second episode. But once one of these rules were to trigger an incident, you'll see those inside of your incident page. So over here, we'll see a couple of different incidents that's been created so far. And if I look at this specific one over here, this is traffic that's been detected from IP addresses that's been recommended for blocking. If I wanted to go and investigate this a little bit further, I can go and click on the investigation screen or the investigate button. And this is going to show me that specific incident in this investigation user interface. Over here, you will see the actual alert that's been generated. Azure Security Center detected inbound traffic from IP addresses that are recommended to be blocked, and these are the IPs that's been identified for that. If I hover over these IPs, I might get more information related to them. So if there's no data that's coming back, then of course it would not be clickable. But if I were to hover over something that might be able to get other related alerts, then I'll see that here. And if I click on this, it's going to show me that there is 26 other related alerts. And if I click on this specific one, there's 25 entities here. So if I wanted to go and see this, I will go and see all the aggregated nodes. And this will take me into the actual log workspace screen. This is where I can go and create my raw log queries that I want to go and do. Just to kind of show you what that looks like, Jock showed you a quick query. And if we were to do that inside of Sentinel, I can go and look for security alerts. And I just want the last 10. So these are the last 10 alerts that's been sent over to Sentinel from other sources, of course. I can also go and dig through my raw logs and make this as complicated as I want it to be. And then from there, I can go and create new alerts, right? And when they create incidents, I'll see them on my incident screen. Once I've got incidents and they've been fired up and I know of a standard way to mitigate that threat, I probably want to go and create something to go and automate that response. And we can do that through what we call playbooks. Playbooks are logic apps that would fire off if I were to relate them to a specific rule. And just to show you a quick example here, if I were to look at this specific one here and I edit this, this is basically a workflow of what needs to happen when that alert or when that rule was to trigger, and I want to go and run a playbook against it. So I have a trigger at the top here that's going to be my trigger for the alert that's been generated inside of Sentinel. I might be getting some more information here, maybe get the IPs or the hosts. And this specific one is to isolate a Defender ATP machine. So in this scenario, let's say there's something that's happened inside of Defender ATP and we're not sure what's going on, or maybe there's a threat that's coming from outside of Defender ATP, but it's coming from a specific machine. What we can then do is we can go and trigger an isolate machine action on Defender ATP to isolate that workstation, and then to go and dig a little bit deeper and see why, what's happening on that specific machine. I can, of course, make this workflow as complex or as simple as I want to. Maybe I want to go and add an action here, like send a message to a SOC team inside of Teams. And I can then go and do that. Let's see if I can look at my standard ones here and get Microsoft Teams in here. I can then go and do that and maybe post an action to go and send a message, post a message on a specific team. Or maybe I want to go and create an Outlook message and send an email that asks for approval for a specific action to be taken. So I can be quite elaborate on what my response needs to be to this specific type of threat or this rule that's been triggered on how to isolate that or how to mitigate that specific threat. And that is Sentinel in a nutshell, and we'll dig a little bit deeper in our next episode. Thanks so much, Jacques.
Thank you, Rudy. This was extremely insightful. And as you guys can see, by using and utilizing Sentinel, you can actually move in directly from Sentinel and do stuff on the edge of the network. As promised, if you want to know a little bit more about Crystal language, please head over to Perl site, where you can actually learn a little bit about querying and how it works. I believe this is about a 4-hour session, and that gives you a little bit of the basics of what you require to do some of this. And as Rudy was saying, you can utilize the information that you learn here in Sentinel and utilize it in the edge of the network. Guys, I just would like to say thank you so much for staying with us. It was quite a long video, but keep on protect, detect, and respond. I'm Jacques van Zyl. A special guest today was Rudy Groenewald. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for episode number 6. Cheers.